Hello, it's Alex, the Bookubus. Today I'm going to be wrapping up my GarbAugust. Overall, I had a really good time with it, as always. Thank you to Ollie at Criminally for putting this together every year, and thank you to all of the amazing co-hosts. Everyone is going to be linked in the description below, so yeah, there's a million channels to check out. If you aren't already subscribed to them, you should go do that. So I have 8 books to talk about. I've managed to get through everything that I had on my actual TBR, so yay me. And yeah, I've got 3 vintage horror novels, I've got 1 autobiography, and then 4 vintage YA novels. So yeah, had a decent selection. And yeah, I'll start with the creepy doll books. I feel like that's pretty on brand for me. So yeah, and I'm gonna go least favourite to favourite out of the 3. So least favourite was Althea by Abigail McDaniels, which is a pen name for Dan and Linda Trent. This came out in 1995. And this is about a divorced woman and her 2 daughters. The woman inherits a house from like a long lost uncle or something in Louisiana, I think it was. And yeah, they just decide to move there, sight unseen. And yeah, they find out that the house is a bit creepy and there's a lot of weird history going on with the whole family tree, which was quite confusing. I didn't really keep up with it, to be honest. But anyway, the younger daughter finds a creepy doll. Turns out it has the spirit of someone that previously lived in the house and died, of course. So yeah, the tagline of "you've taken possession of her house, now she'll take possession of you" is pretty accurate, because the spirit within the doll starts to take over certain living people and doing stuff. So yeah, there's some fun moments, there's some fun kills and some creepy doll stuff, but overall this was just a little flat for me. The writing itself was just kind of bland and not like the most engaging. So yeah, had its moments, but overall it was just okay for me. I gave this one 3 stars. But absolutely incredible cover. I mean, yeah, no notes. Okay, the next one, so my middle favourite, was The Doll by Josh Webster. And this one came out, I think this was an 80s one. This one was 1986. And yeah, the tagline of this, she loved her new dolly to death. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I don't know if that really gives you much of an idea. So this one is about, guess what? It's about a divorced mother with 2 daughters who moves to a new town. So this one, the mother is like this high-flying business lady, and she moves to, I think it's somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. She moves to this like log town, definitely kind of Twin Peaks vibes, at least in that respect, not really story-wise. Anyway, she moves there with her 2 young twin daughters, and one of the twins is kind of a brat, and then the other twin is like the nice one. And anyway, the father, who the mother has divorced from, sends them some gifts, sends the nice daughter a kind of a shitty gift because apparently he doesn't like her, but he loves the bratty daughter, and so he gives her this doll. And it turns out the doll is made by this lady who, there's definitely some like casual racism going on here, with some like Mexican workers at this doll factory. And then behind that, there's some like Aztec legends going on with the doll stuff. So in a way, kind of interesting to work that kind of like folklore into the doll stuff. But also, it just some of it, yeah, didn't really come across very well by today's standards. So yeah, bear that in mind. But yeah, I thought some of it was a bit boring. There was definitely a bit too much setup with establishing the characters in this new location, and all of the job stuff was very boring. But once it got going, it was actually pretty interesting. The dynamic between the two twins was good, and yeah, the fact that this doll, yeah, does play like a prominent role in the story. But I won't, yeah, go into specifics on what it is. But yeah, had a good climax. Overall, I thought this was good, better than Althea. So this was a 3.5 star. And then the last one, and my favourite of the three, was Baby Doll by Marilyn Knight. This one, I think, came out between those two. It was 1988. And yeah, this is a very beat up copy, but I think I found it at like a library book sale or something, and obviously I wasn't gonna leave it behind. So this one, what's the tagline? She was beautiful, fragile, and poisonously evil. Yeah, that doesn't really tell us that much. But this is about a teenage boy. His mother and him have moved to be with his grandmother, who is kind of old and needing help. And the house across the street from his grandmother's house, the old guy that lived there has recently passed away, and I think his only like family member, who was like a long lost niece or something, comes to stay and figure out the house stuff, I guess. But she is also just a teenage girl. So yeah, there's a whole thing going on with the family tree there as well, which is a bit confusing too. But anyway, I really liked the writing style of this one. It was engaging. It had quite a lot of humour to it as well. And it did have some creepy moments. And although the main characters are these two teenagers, it didn't feel like it was YA or anything. It does have some kind of more adult content, shall we say. It just, yeah, happened to have teenage characters. So we've got some of that like high school drama, I guess, and yeah, these two teens getting to know each other while all of this crazy stuff is happening in this creepy house. And there is a creepy doll. It actually doesn't play like a huge role in the story as the other two books do, but there is a creepy doll, and yeah, there is something tied to that is kind of the crux of the story, which again, I won't spoil for you. But yeah, I just liked the style of this one. It was the most entertaining of the three books for me. And yeah, unfortunately, this, I believe, was the only book that Marilyn Knight had published, unless anyone knows, you know, that either this was a pen name or she had other pen names. If you have any information about her, I would love to know. I feel like when I first got hold of this book, I had found an article or an interview with her, and I was like, oh, I'll go back to that once I've read the book. Now I can't fucking find it. So I don't know whether I just dreamed that. But anyway, this was a really good time. I would recommend tracking it down if it sounds interesting to you. And yeah, I gave this one 4 stars. Okay, so I also read one celebrity autobiography. This was Traci Lords' Underneath It All, which was originally published in 2003. And yeah, I don't read a ton of autobiographies, but this one sounded interesting. And yeah, this was a really good read. It was well written and engaging. And yeah, it goes through like her entire life. And yeah, she definitely went through some shit. So yeah, that was all very interesting. Yeah, pretty depressing at times, and kind of, yeah, just awful shit that she went through. And yeah, the whole like porn career thing, like it's baffling to me how like she's still kind of referred to as this like teenage porn star, when like she should be referred to as like victim of sex trafficking, you know, like she was a teenager. Yeah, she apparently made one adult film at the age of 18, so that's the only one that like isn't classed as, yeah, CP basically. Yeah, anyway, she got through that and wanted to establish herself as like a mainstream actress, and yeah, started getting into mainstream movies, you know, starting off with kind of like some B horror movies and stuff, but then yeah, making a name for herself. She was in Cry Baby by directed by John Waters. And yeah, it seems like she has had a pretty interesting career. And yeah, it was just an interesting and at times entertaining read. So yeah, if you've ever been curious about her life, I would definitely recommend this. I gave it 4 stars. Okay, and now I have the 4 vintage young adult books that I read. We'll start off with I Know What You Did Last Summer by Lois Duncan. I had seen the film. I remember seeing it at the cinema when it originally came out, and I was like, holy shit, they've got Typo Negative playing over the opening credits. That was like the coolest thing ever to teenage me. Anyway, it's not my favourite film. You know, it's pretty fun, but it's definitely not a favourite of mine. But I've read some other Lois Duncan books and enjoyed them, so I'd been meaning to read this one for ages, and I had heard that it is actually quite different to the film, and it is. Really, it's only the very basic premise of this group of 4 teenagers who have done something terrible last summer, and somebody knows about it and is out to get them, basically. Yeah, the story behind what they did is different, book to movie. And yeah, this did originally come out in the late 70s, I think it was. Early 70s, 1973. So yeah, some of it is definitely feeling of its time. It's also like weirdly fat phobic, like to the point where I'm like, what is your problem, Lois? Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was kind of not super cool. Other than that, it was okay. You know, it was still a decent read. I enjoyed it somewhat, even though it was different to the film. Like, I definitely didn't mind that, since I'm not like precious over the film or anything. I think this one started off really strong, establishing one of the characters, but as it went on, sometimes it just wasn't as engaging as it could have been, and maybe got a little boring at times for me. But overall, it was still a good read. I'm glad I checked it out finally. I gave this one 3.5 stars. And then I also read another kind of horror thriller type of book. This is Most Wanted by Jordan Cray, part of the Danger.com series. We've got a little step back situation here. It says, "You've connected." So good. This came out in 1998. So yeah, like early days of people having internet access in their homes. And this one in particular is about a teenage boy who finds out he was adopted. His mother has kept that from him all these years. And not only that, but he finds out that his biological father was in prison for supposedly killing his biological mother. So yeah, that's kind of quite the situation to deal with. But he decides he wants to get in touch with his biological father. I thought this was really good. I was pleasantly surprised by this. I had like no expectations from it. I've never heard anyone talk about any of this series. I like the fact that this was from the perspective of a teenage boy, because most of the books of this kind are teenage girls, which I'm not mad about. Like, I love that too, but it was just interesting to kind of have a different perspective. And yeah, he's going through a lot, dealing with family and friends and a little bit of romance along the way of, yeah, kind of navigating this whole, yeah, father situation that he didn't know existed. And also, did he actually kill his biological mother or not? Yeah, this had a very kind of personable writing style, and it had some humour at times. So yeah, it was kind of a quick, fun read. Yeah, I kind of flew through this one, really enjoyed it. And I will definitely have to keep an eye out for more books in this series. I gave this one 4 stars. And then the last 2 books I have are more, a little bit of romance. The first one isn't like strictly romance. It is Freshman Dorm, which originally came out in 1990, written by Linda A. Cooney, which is actually Linda Alper and Kevin Cooney. They wrote a whole series of these. I bought a bunch of them a while ago. And it's about a group of 3 best friends who move into college, move into the dorms, and are, yeah, figuring out their friendship and their studies and romance. in this kind of new situation that they're in. You know, we're not in high school anymore. So figuring out what that means for each of them. I really enjoyed this one too. It was well written, engaging, interesting characters. Like, each of the 3 characters are quite different to each other and are dealing with different things. I like the fact that this wasn't like strictly romance. There is some of that in there, but it's also, a lot of it is about friendship and, you know, who they want to be as people and potential careers and all of that kind of thing. So it was a good mixture of things. And yeah, it was just a really quite an enjoyable read. I had read, I think it was number 3 in the series a couple of years ago, because I just had randomly found that at a library book sale. And I did enjoy that one at the time, but I think now, having the like original context of everything, I did enjoy this one more. So I feel like I would probably enjoy that one more if I reread it, which I think I'm going to do, because I am planning on maybe reading one of these a month from this point on, which is going to take me a long time to get through because there's lots of them. But I think that'll be a fun project, and, you know, will just be something a little different to add into all of my horror reading. Yeah, this was a good time. Would recommend it if it sounds interesting to you. 4 stars. And then the last book, which was actually the last book I read, I just recently finished this. This is from the At Cafe series. This is Make Mine to Go by Elizabeth Craft. Warning, contents extremely hot. It wasn't. So this came out in 1998. So again, those early days of the internet being like a new thing for everyone, and internet cafes were a thing. That's where this one is set. And I think these characters are meant to be like around age 18, although there are a couple of younger ones too. And yeah, they work at this internet cafe, and this is more of a romance novel. So we're, yeah, kind of dealing with the romantic situations of this handful of characters. So yeah, it was a little bit too much of like, oh, I really like this person, does this person like me? Or like, oh, I'm dating this person, but do I really love them? I actually quite fancy this other person instead. Should I kiss them? Should I not kiss them? What if he doesn't like me? So it was a little bit, obviously I'm not the target audience for this. Yeah, it was a little juvenile, but yeah, I'm sure for a younger reader this would have been a ton of fun. It was still somewhat entertaining, you know, it was just a light, fluffy read. It was kind of what I expected, but even though it does include some more serious topics and non-romantic things that a couple of the characters are dealing with, I just didn't really care, I guess. Whereas in Freshman Dorm, like, I felt like I cared about the characters, whereas this one, it wasn't happening, really. Maybe that's because this was book 3. I feel like it does give you enough backstory of the characters and what they're going through, so you're not completely lost. But, like, you know, I wasn't already familiar with the characters, so maybe I would have gotten on better had I started with book 1, but I found this one randomly in a thrift store, so there you go. Will I be tracking down book 1? No, I didn't like it that much to care about reading any more of the series, but you know, it was a fun, fluffy read for the moment. And yeah, the late 90s internet vibes was fun too, because apparently not only do they run this internet cafe, but they also have a website, and so each chapter starts with this, like, we have a page of their website and then this very interesting graphic design situation with the chapter number. So yeah, we have that, which was, you know, kind of like a fun little gimmick. But yeah, this one was just a 3-star read for me. So that is everything I read for GarbAugust. Oh, I did also watch a couple of things that I did talk about in my TBR video. One of them was the TV show Rivals, which is based on the book of the same name by Julie Cooper. The book was a group read for GarbAugust. I did not read the book. It is an absolute chonker. But I did watch the show and it was really fun. It's set in the 80s, and so yeah, the 80s vibes are strong, which I loved. And yeah, I thought they did a really great job with all of the costuming and stuff. You know, they it felt authentically 80s rather than that like, oh, everyone's wearing bright neon, because that wasn't really what happened in the 80s. So yeah, I liked the vibe of it. It was fun. Everyone's shagging everyone. It was, you know, there's some nudity and a lot of sexual content. Everyone's having affairs with everyone else. And obviously, as the title indicates, it's basically about rivalry. And we have these, specific characters who are kind of backstabbing each other and whatnot along the way. But yeah, it's set in the world of television in the UK. And so, yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting setting, and yeah, it was just a fun time. So would recommend. And then the other thing I watched was the TV show adaptation of Freshman Dorm. So this came out in 1992 and yeah, had some familiar names: Matthew Fox, Robin Lively, Casper Van Dien. It only lasted 5 episodes before it was cancelled, and I found them all on YouTube. So I was like, oh cool, I will dive into that once I've read the first book. And I only lasted 1 episode. It was pretty bad. Yeah, I didn't even want to continue with the other 4 episodes. It was just, yeah, kind of bad acting, just very clunky. They did change quite a lot from the book. I don't know, it was just, yeah, it wasn't good. So that was a bit of a fail for me. Would not necessarily recommend it, even as like a so bad it's good thing. Yeah, so anyway, I satisfied my curiosity by at least checking out episode 1 and then removing them from my watch later list pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased I managed to get round to everything I set out to, and it's been a fun month. GarbAugust is always a fun month. If you joined in with GarbAugust, I would love to hear about what you read or watched or whatever. Yeah, if you have any recommendations, please let me know. And yeah, just hope you had a good month in general. Yeah, the weather here was just recently started to get like slightly cooler. So yeah, it's been jacket weather, which is nice. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be complaining that it's too cold before too long. But at the moment, I'm glad it's not like swelteringly boiling. So I'll take it. And if you haven't already seen my video about Vamptember, then please go check that out. This is a vampire themed readathon taking place in the month of September. It's going to be awesome. I'm ready for some good old vampire action. So yes, let's go. Anyway, yeah, I hope you had a great month. I hope you have a great September coming up. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you again in my next video. Bye.